Well, it finally happened. It finally happened. Disney, after allowing maybe the dumbest, most destructive, most uncreative, most loathsome pile of goo in Kathleen Kennedy, they allowed her to completely tank the brand, turn Star Wars into an absolute joke. Well, now they have finally decided they will fire her and replace her with Dave Filoni and Lou and Brennan. Now, the internet is, of course, abuzz with this. My question is for you to be thinking about throughout this video is, and let me know in the comments, like, is it too little too late? I've been seeing like some clips. I stopped watching The Mandalorian when they fired Gina Carano, but I've been seeing some clips like on shorts pop up, and I was like, this show still looked like it was all right. I'm not going to go back and watch it, but basically outside of The Mandalorian, everything else they put out, maybe Clone Wars stuff, most of it was a joke. And I'm not even talking about the theatrical releases, which every one of them, except for probably Rogue One, were a complete disaster, at least in my opinion. But let's look at the news. Dave Filoni and Lou Brennan will replace Kathleen Kennedy as the new co-presidents of Lucasfilm, because two men, make no mistake about it, they are saying, well, it would take two men to do the job of one woman. That is guaranteed why they hired two of them. Dave Filoni will oversee creative development. Lou and Brennan will oversee executive duties. Now, this is through the years, many people have reported the demise of Kathleen Kennedy. Many of them, I think I probably have 3 or 4 videos throughout the years saying, so Kathleen Kennedy finally fired. But clear creative leadership usually helps. Execution will matter most. Look, I know that the internet has basically turned on Star Wars, but I'm not going to pretend that Grogu wasn't cute. I'm not going to pretend that there weren't some redeemable qualities in basically all of the movies. I'm not saying any of them were, I would say, again, outside of Rogue One, which I'm only grading on a scale against other Disney Star Wars, right? I'm not like, of every Disney Star Wars movie that was released, I could give you 100 better non-Disney Star Wars movies, but rating them against themselves, Rogue One is probably the only memorable one for me. This Kathleen Kennedy stepping away rumor comes around every year for a few years. It's never accurate. The Phantom Menace guys have been prognosticating this for like 7 years, and it's never once happened. But that's true. Like I have to agree. But now this time, it's being reported by some of the more mainstream outlets like Screen Rant. Star Wars is officially getting new leadership as Kathleen Kennedy's replacements are revealed. Disney has been going through some changes, and one of its biggest properties, Star Wars, will be getting entirely new leadership. Haha, Freudian slip there. As Kathleen Kennedy will be stepping down. Hashtag she was actually fired. Puck News has reported that Kennedy will be stepping down as president of Lucasfilm to make way for new leadership, as Dave Filoni, who currently serves as chief creative officer for Star Wars, will be replacing her as the creative lead. Filoni will be joined in this new leadership role by Lou and Brennan, the president and general manager of Lucasfilm's business, and will be responsible for the financial aspects. I mean, they can't even hire people that don't hate the fans and hate the brand. Like this John Boyega has been whining and complaining about Star Wars ever since he got the role. Hopefully they can hire some people that actually embrace and love the fandom and not people who are just using this as a stepping stone. During her time at Lucasfilm, of course, Kennedy faced heavy scrutiny from the fan base due to creative and leadership decisions she made while producing films such as Star Wars sequel trilogy, which was a disaster, and The Force Awakens, which was basically a direct remake, The Last Jedi, which was widely mocked, and The Rise of Skywalker, which was completely forgettable. Last year, when questioned at Star Wars CJ 2025, Kennedy discussed rumors regarding retirement from Lucasfilm and said, "I'm not retired. I'm not going anywhere." It's unclear if Kennedy will be completely phased out of Lucasfilm or simply stepping down from any leadership roles and remain as a producer on several upcoming Star Wars propaganda projects. Lucasfilm back in 1971 began Don't Really Care. Filoni has credits such as King of the Hill and Avatar, The Last Airbender, before becoming Lucas's protege and having a hand in Star Wars The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels. Now he oversees the live-action projects such as The Mandalorian and Ahsoka. I'm pretty sure Ahsoka's cooked, right? That they canceled that show, I'm pretty sure. He has been praised over the years about his ability to connect animated projects with live action. It's unclear when Star Wars will face these major changes in leadership, but Kennedy's previous hesitancy to leave the role could spark some back and forth debates about moving the company forward. Now, if you look at, a lot of stuff, about a decade too late, to me, if you remember back in the beginning video, I asked you to think about, is it too little too late? I kind of think it is, right? You relaunched Star Wars at a time when most original fans were perfectly able to introduce their kids to it. So when the movies came out in the 70s, those people are 50, 60, years old. They've got older kids. They took their kids to see Star Wars, reintroduced Star Wars to a whole new generation. And that was a good thing, right? But business-wise. But now, this generation remembers Star Wars, Disney Star Wars, as an unmitigated disaster. Started as something like, wow, The Mandalorian is actually pretty good, to, wow, who gives a damn about any of it? Every show will somehow have Ahsoka as the main character, 10 years too late. For real this time, gets back to work on the X-Wing movies. I don't know. We don't know anything about them, but hopefully it shifts the dynamic from everything being kiddie to some deeper, darker stories, which is why I liked Rogue One. I want the Joker version instead of Jar Jar. I'll believe Kathleen Kennedy is gone when it actually happens. I mean, it's tough to say. I mean, can it get worse? How many Star Wars fans are still hanging on? How many are still hanging on to the franchise? If there was a new Star Wars movie and it was coming out later this year, let's say this fall, I would say that Disney probably has a lot of fence mending to do. And if they're unwilling to do that, if they're unwilling to apologize in some way, shape, or form, specifically to the white male fandom that supported their franchise for the last 50 years, there's no chance. And now, what does that mean? What does apology mean? Well, I'm not saying that they need to issue a tweet like, sorry, white guys, but they need to lean heavily into not just fan service, but like, get back to having cool main characters. I mean, I thought Kylo Ren was pretty good. Adam Driver, I thought, was pretty good. But like, the damage they did to like Luke Skywalker, making him a total disgrace, leaving the Force, turning against the Force, drinking the green titty milk, like that you have to what's the word for it? Rectify that somehow. And I'm saying you do that creatively through projects where people are like, you're gonna have to put out a project or 2 projects or 3 projects where people finally say, actually, it's pretty good. Actually, it's pretty good, because people aren't going to come running back. This actually says Bob Iger and Kathleen Kennedy to exit Disney and Lucasfilm, major overhaul revealed. So this is both of them. Both Disney and Lucasfilm are set to replace their CEOs in 2026. It's hard to believe that it's been over 3 years since Bob Iger made a surprise return to CEO of Disney. Since starting his second stint, reports have emerged that Iger long had contentious relationship with Bob Chapek, who sucked, and other executives feel Iger would steer Disney away from the downward turn, during the latter brief rule. Whether or not that's coming to pass is up for debate. I mean, we won't really know. A lot of the projects that Bob Iger greenlit probably don't come out for another 2 or 3 years, even maybe 4 or 5, 6 years. The Walt Disney Company's experienced a series of blows in recent years, from declining domestic theme park attendance at Walt Disney to mass Disney Plus cancellations in the wake of suspending TV host Jimmy Kimmel following pressure from federal regulator. That's not true. Inside the Magic, tell the truth. It was Nexstar and Sinclair Broadcasting that got them off the air. But anyway, Lucasfilm has not fared much better. Over 5 years on from the disappointing release of Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, the studios faced a slew of negative critical and audience responses to nearly every Disney Plus project. The Acolyte in particular proved particularly divisive. It wasn't even that it was divisive, it was bad. Just bad. Like space lesbian witches scissorsing to create the Force. Like, no, sorry, nobody wants that. It also hit a brick wall in several planned movies. Fans were furious to discover in late 2025 that Disney had canceled the planned return for Ben Solo. I'm sorry, not Kylo Ren. Yeah, Ben Solo. Adam Driver, while Daisy Ridley's reprisal of Rey in a standalone film that would see her rebuild the Jedi Order appears to face also another setback. Many fans have pinned these issues on Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy, having led the studio since Disney's purchase in 2012. Some have Kennedy, fairly or not, as a scapegoat for the issues that they perceive in a sequel trilogy. A portion of the fandom has attributed the increase in, quote, woke Star Wars project to Kennedy, particularly in the wake of comments she made about how female fans struggle within the franchise's male-dominated fan base. Well, how do you like me now? You didn't like your male fan base? You thought women would take over? Guess what? The women didn't like it either. So you managed to lose the men and the women. The women who had already told you many times that they weren't interested in it. We've long known that Iger will step down as CEO in late 2026. Much has been made of who he will choose as a successor per recent reports. All signs currently point to one name, Josh D'Amaro. D'Amaro, who has served as chairman of Disney Experiences since 2020, is a divisive figure within a Disney fandom. While some have pinned the unpopular park changes such as rising prices, the introduction of lighting lanes, and the reduction of in-park entertainment on him, others have fond memories of his time as president of Disneyland. There's also no denying that D'Amaro is charismatic and a quality many believe Chapek lacked. Look, as long as whoever they bring in isn't a groomer, I'm fine with it. You know, I think they still can save Disney Star Wars, but it's going to take more than just one movie. It's going to take 5 years of them paying attention to the fandom again and stop wearing stupid shirts like the Force is female. You had plenty of fans to pay $6 billion for Lucasfilm, and the first thing you decided to do was abandon them. Like, maybe worry about getting back the fans that you had before you're worried about spitting them on the side of the road in exchange for this mythical female fandom that never really existed. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you leave a like on it. If you haven't yet, please subscribe or follow down below, and we'll talk to you again real soon.